fact, and so glad to have. Daryl Glenn is the president of the El Paso County Board of County Commissioners, and I would love for him to make a few comments and maybe take a few questions, and then we'll get into our program as on the agenda. Thank you so much for being here.
I was literally just coming by, and I saw this group. We're going to have civics on tap on the 25th, so definitely ask some good questions. I can tell you, putting my commissioner hat on, we're excited about an opportunity to have a new election that happened with the city council. We are definitely committed to working together. When I'm not doing the commissioner job, I'm out trying to help organizations and neighborhoods try to mediate some of the disputes that were happening. You know, one of the benefits and downsides of campaigning for most of your life, you get to hear a lot of rhetoric on both sides. But you don't hear a lot of people focusing in on solutions. So that's one of the things that I'm really committed to doing. But I'm just here really just to say hi. If you have any questions for me, great. I'll take some. But on the 25th, look forward to being grilled. Right? All right. Is that what happens?
No, actually, it's
Is it really nice? Is a lot of drinking and then?
It sort of depends, because now that you mention it, the mayor got grilled a couple of times.
But I'll take any quick questions you have. But otherwise, just thank you. Keep doing what you're doing. I'll leave some of my cards here too, because there's some things that I can help out within your organizations, but I'm just grateful that you're participating in this. All right, thank you
for being here.
Thanks, appreciate it.
Okay, so this is the agenda for tonight. We're pretty loose and laid back, so thanks for those that came early for our social half hour. So you guys can arrive at our meetings at 5 o'clock. Our police and fire department's usually here if you want personal questions. We'll take probably a question or two from you guys in just a second. I'll do some updates. By the way, I'm Sarah Poe, I'm the assistant director at CONO. Dave Hunker is the executive director. We have a couple board members, Molly Mary, Dale Neesmith, Chris Dorsett, and I think that's everybody. So thank you to our board members for coming. On your seats when you guys came in is a flyer about Neighbor Up Week. You probably heard me talking about this last month, but make sure not to miss it. If you would like more flyers to distribute to your neighborhoods, I am happy to give you more. I can email you the digital file if that's more convenient. But we have a ton of things going on, and really this is community-wide. We're celebrating neighborhoods in El Paso and Teller counties, so you can see our maps. There's 600 plus neighborhoods, so join in on any of these events. We'd love to have you. Our fundraiser is the bowling event on Friday, May 5th. It's Cinco de Mayo theme. That is the only thing that costs money. It's $50 a person because we're trying to support our neighborhoods, raise more money for CONO to be able to continue to outreach to those 600 neighborhoods. The expos.
Quick comment, because we have a member of the commissioners here, we have police here, we have fire department here. I want you to know that the city council has got a team for our bowling night, and they've issued a challenge. So we'll see if we can't come up with a traveling trophy for all of you civil servants. But we'd love to have you participate. Just 5 people for a lane. My board's going to come up with a team for each one of them. Molly already has. So please take us up on the challenge. And we'll treat you well, too.
Yeah, food is included, 2 games of bowling, there's a silent auction there, a photo booth, prizes for the best dressed team, and your Cinco de Mayo gear. This is kind of our display table over here. The city and county also will be proclaiming Neighbor Up Week in a couple of weeks at the county commissioner and city council meetings. So look for those dates on our newsletter, and you guys can come be part of that proclamation as well. We take a group photo, so it's a lot of fun. The other events during the week, though, are free to attend. Please join us for any of those. We've got bike rides, neighborhood expos that consist of cleanups, theater and dance performances, park activities, free lunches, and community booths. If you have a nonprofit or community business that you're part of and want to be at one of those, represented as a booth, let me know, because we're still looking for those. I think utilities will be there, so thank you, Susan. So join in. Come on in, yeah. join in for any of those expos. We also have a workshop for HOAs. Our state HOA information officer, Gary Kujaski, will be here to talk about the new legislation and then some common issues that HOAs face. So again, that's a free workshop during the week. And then our awards and social. So if you haven't paid attention to anything yet, pay attention to this. Next month, our normal monthly meeting will be at the Pioneers Museum. It will not be here because it's during Neighborhood Week. And at the Pioneers Museum, we will have Josh and John scoop us. You guys will get free scoops of ice cream. And then we get a private viewing of the Story of Us exhibit. If you remember, I think in December or November, we had them come here and kind of show us a preview of what that is. It basically talks a lot about what we're going to talk about tonight, but it's a map version of looking at your neighborhood history. Really cool. So we get a private viewing of that exhibit, and the mayor will be there to give away our awards for Neighborhood of the Year and Neighborhood Champion of the Year. So that will be a really fun night. So next month, May 10th, 5:30 to 7 will be our awards and social. So make sure you mark your calendars for that. Any questions about Neighborhood Week? Okay, hopefully you guys can attend, and then like Mr. Glenn said, we have 2 Civics on Tap series left. Next week is our City Council President, Murph Bennett, and then he will finish up our 9-week series as the President of County Commissioners. So we're really excited to conclude that series. It's been a really fun 9 weeks. So
It has been fun.
yeah. If anybody missed their membership dues, they were due March 31st. I know we've got a lot of you as members, but if you missed the deadline, we're still accepting checks. So,
Can I say one thing about
Yeah.
Neighborhood Week? I just want to mention that at Meadows Park, where one of the expos is happening, Ivywild is partnering with Meadows Park so that not only are we reinforcing neighbor to neighbor, we're trying to reinforce neighborhood to neighborhood, being good neighbors across those neighborhoods. So we're excited and looking forward to how that's gonna work out and breaking down some of the isolation that can happen in our neighborhoods.
yeah, thank you. Thank you for that. I think that's all I have. If you have more questions, though, please email or call me. But I think we'll turn it over to our police and fire, and they'll each take one question, maybe, or 2. But come on up.
Turn it into whatever you want.
Yeah.
All right. Well, good evening, everyone. My name is Rafael Cintron. I'm the commander of Gold Hill Division. We provide police services that southwest quadrant of the city. We got a couple of exciting things at the PD coming up. We've got a recruit graduation on Friday. We're gonna have 36 new police officers as of Friday evening. So we're excited about that. We're also looking at our next recruit class, which is gonna start in July, and we're looking at hiring 62 officers, additional officers. So again, we're very excited about that. So if you know anybody who's interested in law enforcement, please let them know that we're always hiring. So keep us in mind. For those of you that live downtown, work downtown, or shop or dine downtown, we're pretty excited also this year. We have a unit that's dedicated to patrol the downtown area, and they're called our Downtown Area Response Team. And that team of officers during the day works basically from Monday through Friday. Councilman Strand was able to find some additional monies for us to provide some overtime for officers to work on the weekends. So I don't know, Tim, if you've noticed, but now we've got officers that are also working on Saturday and Sundays, and we just have a bigger presence and more visibility downtown to be able to address issues. So we're pretty excited about that downtown. So with that, I will open it up to any questions. If anybody has any questions of the police department or anything going on at Gold Hill Division? Yes, sir.
Don't have a question, just want to say thank you for your service.
Oh, I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Awesome. Cool. I can have so, well, I mean, as far as the body worn cameras?
Yes.
So, as you guys know, our department last year began to deploy body worn cameras. We started out actually at Gold Hill Division. And now most of our patrol officers all have body-worn cameras, to include the patrol supervisors. I want to say that we have probably over 400 cameras out in the field right now. Our guys are still learning to use them. Some of our younger, more technically savvy folks have picked them up pretty quickly. Some of our older officers are kind of struggling with them a little bit. So, which is typical with technology. But our folks are getting used to using them and just kind of working through the learning curve. But pretty happy to have over 400 cameras now out in the field. Anything else? Awesome. Dave, thank you very much for the invite. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
I'm more of a sitter than a stander because I stand up like I'm lecturing you, so if you don't mind. Don't play with fire. I'm Dave Rocco. I am a battalion chief downtown. There's several of us on every day. 4 of us actually used to be part-time. I have the downtown section. So for us, we have 30 firefighter recruits currently in our academy. They're going to graduate in July. And like the PD, we need that extra staffing. So we hope, fingers crossed, that all of our 30 graduate and make it through safely. That said, for those of you that live downtown or like the downtown area, our Station 1 remodel is coming along quite nicely. If anyone's gone by and seen that, I'd say tell everyone the way they matched the bricks that were 100-year-old bricks is pretty impressive. I think in 5 years you will think that that entire building has been there for 100 years. That is due to be open in the fall. However, the firefighters that currently work there are going to move to the new section, the new build, in probably late May. And then they're going to remodel the old fire station. So I think there'll be a big grand opening ceremony in the fall, and I would highly recommend going to see because it's going to be pretty impressive, and it's just a great building to go look at. Fire danger is coming around to high again because even though we had snow and rain, everything got a little moisture, got to grow just a little bit, and then we're going to go back into a dry spell. So for those of you in those high-risk neighborhoods, you take care of your mitigation, and you're going to help your neighbors get theirs done too, because it looks to be it's going to be another dry season, which is not unusual for Colorado by any means. However, we always want to give you that warning to mitigate your properties, and if you need help, contact the fire marshal's office, and we have tons of brochures and online help to help you get that process done. And a sad note, for those of you that knew Christina Randall, she passed a few weeks ago unexpectedly. She was our fire mitigation queen, excellent woman, a huge asset to the fire department. Her mitigation skills and her crew management and her division was top notch. And so she passed unexpectedly, and we mourn her loss.
And Chief, I just wanted to say that there are a lot of people here who, and a lot of neighborhoods who, it's hard to say this, who knew Christine well and not only appreciated all those skills, but also her community engagement skills. She really will be missed. We're really sorry for your loss.
Yeah, so that's a very sad note. So I'm going to end on that sad note. So, any questions?
Just want to thank you for your service as well.
Thank you, sir. No questions? The police officer got a question.
Okay, I'll ask.
Thank you,
Since I live
sir.
downtown, Norwood's putting up all these high-density places. They're gonna start moving over here by Sugar's. Do we, number one, have the technology to address high-rise fires? And 2, do we have the manpower if we move another 400 or 500 people into the downtown area?
So, the first question was, do we have the skills and technology to handle high-rise fires? We actually have all of the staffing that we would need for that, and we definitely have the skill sets. Now, Colorado Springs is not a big high-rise. Technically, a high-rise is really anything over like 75 feet. So we only have like 14 buildings in the whole city that are truly high-rise by definition. So what we call a high-rise is typically anything that's bigger than 3 stories. So we do have all of the skill sets and the staffing model to meet that. What you'll probably see is more obviously traffic congestion with that, so there's access issues for us. And the real obvious, there's going to be more medical issues for us, and that's where we spend the bulk of our time. So the high-density people being in these areas, it probably won't be a big fire effect, but it'll probably increase call volume. It's the same for the police department. They'll have greater call volume due to just more people in a confined space. So, but should a fire break out, all those buildings are built, and the DFM and regional building, make sure that they have all of the best fire sprinkler suppression systems and fire notification systems, so they are very safe buildings. Should a fire break out though, our staff could handle it. That's a good question, by the way.
And maybe one more.
Yes, sir.
John?
We had a snowstorm.
Yes, sir.
A lot of branches were broken. They're all over the city. Who's responsible for chipping those up and taking them away? Because they're in the center parkings on Wasatch and in the street on the Old North End, north of Uinta. Lots of branches everywhere.
Well, I think that's more of a public works type of question. However, what my general knowledge is that should it fall on your property, unfortunately becomes your responsibility. Yes, ma'am.
I can answer that because I live in an old house with a parking strip.
Yes.
City forestry is who you want to call about it.
Mhm.
If they're in the parking strip, if they're on your property, it's your responsibility.
Exactly.
They're running way behind. I called them the day after the storm and they haven't come yet.
But it does remind me of something that, so our crews will go out to those. We work with CSU, the utilities, because there's just too many branches, too many power lines for the 6, 8, 10 crews that CSU can put out. And so fire and even PD supports, we go out and protect those areas. You know, it's a good thing to know that those lines, you know, they get knocked down by a tree branch, it's laying in your yard, it looks so safe and it just looks inconspicuous. However, those lines are usually, if they're still connected to the pole, they're usually still energized. And even though they're laying flat, they can become active at any point. We had a crew last week over here on the west side that approached a line that was down, and they got a little too close, and it actually jumped up in the air, and they all got a little buzz on their legs from it, and scared the bejesus out of them. And those are trained, you know, individuals, and they just got a little too close, and it jumped. So, you know, especially for children and kids, they don't think about that kind of stuff, especially the new generation. They're not used to overhead power lines. They're not taught that stuff anymore. Conjunction junction's over, right? So, you need to make sure you talk to them about that stuff in case your children or grandkids or neighbor kids are out at one of those events.
Actually, I'll take issue. We do still provide electric safety education in all the schools.
Conjunction junction?
No, it's something else. It's our tiny town safety,
Okay.
electric safety.
Perfect.
But that is a good warning that it's not just the line, it radiates out a large
Right.
area around the line that's down, so. Get close.
As I was driving down here on 21st Street in Bear Creek Park, there's a limb all the way over electric wire, and it's been there. I don't know who to contact about that.
I think that's CSU
Call
as well.
448-4800 and let us know, because we.
For what?
448-4800.
Okay.
And sometimes it's a Comcast line.
Yeah, a
In
lot of
my
times
yard,
it's
it was
not our lines,
Utilities
but-
came by, but they were able to tell me it's not ours, call your phone company, so that could be the
No.
case.
And was our earlier information correct? I didn't realize you were sitting there, so is our earlier information correct? If it's in the street, the city will come get it at some point, forestry. If it's in your yard, you kind of take
As
care
far
of
as I
yourself.
know.
I think
You know,
that's
we-
true.
We're doing the limbs that are interfering with our infrastructure, but
Right.
the ones that once they hit the ground that aren't part of damaging the lines, we haven't been really a part of that other than
You
just
know,
helping out everybody.
I've heard
Yeah.
multiple variations of this, so we'll find out. We'll find out what the complete story is, or the accurate story, and we'll put it out in one of our emails here.
That's perfect. All right, well, thanks for your time, enjoy your evening.
Thank you. Thanks for being here. All right, the next item on the agenda, we'll go around the room, and I want you to state your name and what neighborhood that you live in, and only one exciting thing that's happening. So I know you probably have 10 exciting things, but only tell us one, because we only have time for that. And that also gives everyone else in the room a perspective on who we're sitting around, and also gives our speakers a chance to know who they're talking to. So we'll start with you.
Jim O'Donnell, live right downtown, Kiowa in Tejon. We have, at the end of the month on the 29th, the Urban Living Tour. It's put on by the Downtown Partnership. So we'll have 3 lofts in our building, 1 across the street, 1 Bijou loft. So you get a chance to see what it's like in our neighborhood.
Cool.
Ellen Price, I'm from top of Skyway. We didn't get to say anything before, but at Christmas time, we had an ornament exchange. And it was at my house, and we had so much fun. They want to do it again.
Awesome. That sounds like fun. Thank you.
Chris Dorset, and I think the most exciting thing for me in our neighborhood is my grass is turning green.
Yeah.
What neighborhood do you live in?
Mountain Shadows.
We'll just keep going this way.
I'm David DeCoco from Falcon Estates by Woodman Road. And we've already started on the garage sale. Falcon Estates and Columbine are going to do one together this year on June 23rd and 24th. Come on up.
My name is Dale Neesmith, and I'm from the Windjammer Homeowners Association. And our annual garage sale will be May 20th. And please come on. That's it.
I'm Molly Mary, I live in Ivywild, and we have chipping happening, and the timing has been perfect because we have a ton of branches down. So if you drive around Ivywild, you see piles and piles and piles of branches, but it's April 24th, so it's perfect timing for the storm.
I'm Kirk Woundy, I'm from Patty Jewett neighborhood, and in the old Dogtooth coffee space, there are plans afoot to put in a new cafe slash coffee shop slash, I don't want to call it a bar, but a little community meeting house, so we're hoping that that'll happen.
I'm Chuck Martin from the Old North End, and on Monday we start building our 4th entryway sign on the corner, on the median of Cascade at Uinta. So if you drive on Cascade, be sure and toot your horn.
Pat Doyle, Old North End neighborhood. We're collaborating with the Historic Preservation Alliance of Colorado Springs, and May is Preservation Month, as designated by the National Trust for Historic Preservation. And so we're collaborating with them on 2 tours. One in the Old North End, one is going to be I think on Corona Street, and then we're going to do a collaboration with Alan Beauchamp on the bicycle tour, part of the Legacy Loop that starts at the Chadburn Gospel Mission and goes into the neighborhood all the way past my house for a little bit of snippets of history all through these areas, all the way to the Tasty Freeze for the payoff. And so that's going to be happening all through May as Preservation Month. So I forgot my cards today. It'll be on our website and the HPA website, and if you contact me, or I have a list here, you could sign up and just say, I don't know, get me a card.
And I'll just mention too, as you said that, if any of you have neighborhood events that you want to advertise, send it to CONO too, we can put it in our newsletter. So I'd be happy to take any of these events. So.
Okay, I'll bring that card down and then I can look on that, because it's going to be 2 tours, 3 tours. And I'm excited.
I'm with her, but I'm also on the board for the Friends of Monday Valley Park. And every July, we sponsor Musical Mondays. This year, they'll be on the 10th, 10th, 17th, and 24th. And it's a great thing for the kids love to come, they play. And we've done this about 7 years. But I'll have people come again this year.
Awesome. It's July.
July.
Okay. And come bring a picnic dinner and stay and listen to music. It's really fabulous, actually. Free.
Awesome. Thank you.
And so are the tours.
Plus we get a stage from Fort Carson.
Okay. Great.
Really well done.
Great. Thank you.
I'm Debbie Berwick. I'm from Country Club Homeowners Association, and we're trying to write a history.
Awesome. Well, you came to the right meeting.
My name's Max Cupp. I've been here for about 3 months, so I'm newer. But I live at Avenir at Spring Canyon, so Garden of the Gods and 30th. So new stuff, the trees are budding, and I've been able to play basketball outside, so that's been pretty cool.
I'm Chris Orsborn with the Patty Jewett Neighborhood Association, and we're we're continuing our planning for our Porch Fest, second annual Porch Fest occasion on Sunday, September 17th. Last year was our inaugural, and it was quite successful, and so the plans are in the works for possibly an extra porch this year instead of 3, possibly 4. So Sunday afternoon in September, and come on out. We'll have more stuff as it gets closer.
I got a sneak a sneak preview of the flyer from Alan, so.
All
I'm
right.
excited about that.
We're working with Alan Beauchamp from, he's the bike guru in town, and so we're gonna hopefully have some bike things as well.
Cool, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm Kathy Bailey. I'm not a member of CONO, but I did represent Boulder Park neighborhood quite a few years ago on CONO. And I'm active in a group that meets with Memorial Hospital about issues that impact the neighborhood. And we currently, after many years battling the problem of the smokers from the park, from the hospital coming to the park, we're currently working with the Park and Rec Advisory Board on that, and they've been very receptive, so that's our good news.
I'm Rainey Perot. I live in Centennial Heights in the Holland Park area. I am very happy to report that we are now experiencing the rebuilding of Centennial Avenue from Garden of the Gods to Fillmore. We're down to 2 lanes. A lot of fun. Traffic is it's like being back in California, and just enjoying those changes.
I'm Bruce Hutchison, the president of the Pine Cliff HOA over near the Sunbird Restaurant. And
Bruce is also on the CONO board. I just didn't get to introduce him at the beginning.
So we're a lot of you.
Sorry. I already introduced you.
Oh, yes, I was late.
You were late.
By the way, since I was late, I'm leaving early.
Oh. That's not how that works.
Just to let you know.
But we're looking forward to your bowling team.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Just a reminder.
Our good news is that we discovered that we have terrible roads in Pine Cliff. Most of them have never been repaved, and they're falling to pieces. We've been working for several years to lobby to get them, the priorities up on them, and the problem is that there's water main issues that have to be fixed before they do that. So with 2C and such, it actually pushed out the repaving by 3 years. But the good news is PPRTA, is that right? Is going to be paving probably a half a mile at Point of the Pines, which is right below the Sunbird and going up the hill, and it's probably one of the worst spots. So that's going to happen starting April 20th. So we're excited about at least getting part of it taken care of very soon.
Susan Presti with Colorado Springs Utilities, and I live in Manitou, so talk about paving, I'm surrounded by it this summer. But the exciting thing with utilities coming up is June 3rd, the first Saturday in June, we'll have our annual Conservation and Environmental Center open house up on our, with our Xeriscape demonstration garden on Mesa Road. So it'll be a great day from like 9 or 10 in the morning until in the afternoon. Information about landscaping and xeriscaping and all sorts of information about utilities, solar, everything you want to know. So put it on your calendar to come up and share it with your friends. We'll be obviously promoting that a lot in the next month.
May what, you said?
It's June 3rd.
Oh, June.
First, yeah, I may have said first Saturday in May, I have that in my brain, but first Saturday in June. Okay.
Great.
Hi everyone, my name is Mia Ramirez. I live in Middlesex Run, and the exciting thing happening this week is for our elementary school, Columbia Elementary, is working with Concrete Couch to construct a bench. And it's looking really great. The neighbors are involved, the kids are involved, and Concrete Couch is such a great organization. So.
Great. Dave Munger, I'm the director of CONO, and nice to have you all here. Please participate in our Neighbor Up Week, and my challenge to the uniform folks can be extended to all of you. We've got at least one neighborhood participating as a team. We'd love to have a lot more. And it's pretty affordable, and it's all tax deductible.
What's happening in your neighborhood?
I think that my neighbors have already addressed all of that.
Okay, sounds good.
I'm Janice Marie Gallo from a Country Club Homeowners Association, and we have a fire mitigation meeting, which is very important since we're so close to Palmer Park, coming up this weekend. And then we are also planning some socials in the next couple of months.
I'm John Cunning. I'm also from the Country Club Homeowners Association. We're well represented tonight.
You
We want to write a history, but the real problems is we have a new website and we're learning how to use that. And we have an organization that's really got started about 18 months ago. And we're just beginning to collect dues. And it's very hard to collect $30 a year from 317 members, but we're working at it.
Well, good, you guys are doing a good job.
We're doing okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Hi, my name is Bill Thomas. I am from the Briargate, Summer Hill, Somerset area. I'm very pleased to report that most of the down fences have been repaired and the puppy dog escape rate has dropped dramatically. That's our big news.
Good, good. And Judith, we're saying our name, our neighborhood, and one exciting thing that's going on in your neighborhood.
Bonnyville, Bonny Park, trees down, but hopefully we'll be planting some trees. Everybody should be planting trees. April is Arbor Day month, and we really need to be planting more trees. I hope every neighborhood is planting trees.
Yes. And actually at our expos on May 6th at all 4 community centers, Judith and the Tree Coalition will be handing out tree seedlings, like 100 of them at each center to the first 100 people. So grab them, plant them in your yards, because we know it's hard for the city to water all of the trees, so if we can take care of them as neighbors, that's even better. So I just want to note that. And I live on the west side neighborhood, and exciting for me, I got voted in as the vice president, so that's exciting. Wow! And because I said I don't have time to be the president, but then I realized the vice president probably does all the work. That's okay. But we have our annual picnic coming up on June 10th, and we're going to have it at Bancroft Park. We usually have it at the Westside Community Center, but we want to activate Bancroft Park because of the fire. We're trying to actually raise money. The city is funding $250,000 of it, but it's going to be double that, if not triple that, to reconstruct the band shell. But they're using this time to have some public meetings to say, well, what else can we improve with the park? If we're already reconstructing the band shell, let's look at some other aspects. So that's coming up June 10th. So. All right, well, thank you for going around. It's always good to hear what everyone is doing and get ideas from each other. So I love to see that, that networking. But at this time, I'll call the panelists up, and we'll start to learn about how to write our history. So Kirk, Molly, Pat, William, come on up. So, I think I've shortened the time on all of you, but all 4 of these guys will have a chance to do Oh, that's everybody will, or these 4 will speak for about 3 minutes each. And I know, but the only reason I've made it 3 minutes is so we have a lot of time for open questions and answer and dialogue. And please add more to it as we go through the questions. This is meant just to give a quick kind of background of your experience with writing a neighborhood history, you know, 30,000 foot level, and then we'll get into the weeds when we open it up for questions. So introduce yourself, where you're from, and then I'll have you start, Molly. Dave is keeping the time in the back, so watch his time cards. And I'll be handing out some of the information too.
Sarah might, but I
Sarah's going to pass around some handouts. I live in Ivywild. I've been there for 5 years and just started getting into the history a little bit to put tidbits in the newsletter. And as we found things, it grew and grew and grew. The Ivywild Improvement Society was founded in 1898. And so everything we do in Ivywild goes back to, you'll see our goals, our identity, solidifying our identity as a neighborhood, information, improvement, investment, and involvement. You'll notice they all start with an I. Isn't that cute? And so I've listed here for you some of the questions that we wanted to answer in getting our history together. It grew from tidbits for the newsletter to discovering that we had enough interesting stuff that it could create an actual book. So there are so many decisions you have to make of what is your purpose, what do you want to accomplish, who is your audience, why are you doing this, what resources do you have available to you. And a lot of that you discover along the way, but everything we did went back to those goals of are we solidifying our identity? Are we giving information? Is this gonna help us with improvements we want? So I think you're getting the picture here. And so we ended up with this little book that the number of hours, if you multiply the pages by about 100, you'll get an idea of the hours of time. And I brought my box of research and my notebooks and some of the book resources so you could see it's a lot of work. It was very fulfilling work. And I had a partner in this who's since moved to Fort Collins, but her big thing was the architecture. And as we dug into what we were doing, we realized that Ivywild isn't rich in architecture. We have some isolated and really interesting old houses, but we don't have the number of them. What we discovered were stories, these treasures. And so we came up with the concept of a treasure-filled neighborhood history, and we broke it into our lost treasures. We discovered some things that had been lost in Ivywild, and we wanted to bring that back to people's knowledge. We have some rescued treasures in Ivywild. So that was the theme of our history, is organizing that based on what is it about Ivywild that makes it unique, that makes it interesting. What do we want people to know? I only have 30 seconds left. And so we ended up with a book, and I'd be happy to answer any of your questions, but we discovered some amazing stuff about this little old neighborhood. And this has helped fund us since the city cut our neighborhood strategy area funding. So that's bottom line. We wanted to help support our neighborhood organization, and it has.
We'll take questions afterwards.
Okay.
Krik.
Sure. Hi, so my name is Krik Woundy. I run a company called Capsule Memoirs, and somebody asked me what I do. I kind of have to say that I'm a personal historian. How many of you have heard of a personal historian before? Oh, we've got one. Great. How many of you think that it sounds like something I might have made up on my way over here? Yes. That's more common. So as a personal historian, I basically give people help in trying to document their life stories for their families, friends, future generations. I do something similar with businesses and organizations, trying to tell their stories for either the people they serve or the people maybe who work for that organization. You'll see that I haven't mentioned neighborhoods. It's because I haven't done a neighborhood history, although I would love to. I think my being invited here, maybe, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it sort of speaks to the idea that in doing any kind of social history like that, there are a lot of commonalities, and one of them I think is just that, you know, what you're trying to do is kind of tell this story that's going to pivot around, you know, some really common and big picture themes, right? You're going to be looking at successes and failures and the way that people treat each other, and so those were the kinds of stories that I really wanted to tell. I worked at the Independent for about 10 years. I left there to start this business, and so that's my goal in doing this, is to try to really just tell stories or to save stories that should be saved, you know, for now and then hopefully in the future. I can tell you, when I was at the Indy, I did a piece for our 21st birthday issue on how the paper started and why. And one thing that I learned from that was that you really never know where the story is going to go. And I think what you were saying speaks to that as well. So if I were to give you, I guess, one big piece of advice, it would just be to kind of go in with a very open mind in the beginning, and once you gather information, start kind of winnowing it down. Think about theme at that point. That'll help you kind of refine it and get it to where you want it to be, but in the beginning, just go in eyes wide open. Thanks.
Hi everyone, my name is Bill. I work at the Pikes Peak Library District. Some of you know me here. I'm here to give you a sense of what we might have in our resources and our collections to help you write your histories of your neighborhoods. First of all, if you were to do a catalog search on neighborhoods, you will find probably 6 pages, 60 or 70 entries of histories of neighborhoods or information about neighborhoods. So if you're writing the history of your neighborhood, we have some excellent resources. Molly's book is in our collection. We have the North Enders book is in our collection. You'll see lots of neighborhood history. So if you're wondering how to do it right, we've got some really good resources that you can open up and just kind of walk through to see how they did it. I also want to mention that we teach a class from time to time on how to do the history of your house. And I'll teach the class. It will, the actual classroom part of it is about an hour, hour and a half maybe. And then I follow up with a tour of all of our resources, and I will have them pulled out for you. Things like city directories, who lived in your home before you lived there. It's really important to begin to sort of create this narrative, this legacy of the folks who lived in your house. We have some amazing records. We have building permits from about 1901 up to the 60s. You won't find that anywhere else. It's not 100%, of course, there are some gaps, but you will not find that collection in any other resource around town except for us. Things like tapping records, big books that will take 2 people to carry that will list when your particular house got onto city water. Sanborn fire insurance maps, some of you probably have heard of those. Those are in books about that big. It takes 2 people to pull them out and open them up. And you will see how your neighborhood looked in 1907, and then you'll see in 1927 what changed. And those books are so extensive and expensive that what they did is, rather than republish and reissue a new Sanborn map, they just sort of pasted on the changes. So you can run your hand across the map and you can say, oh, but my house has got something pasted on here. So you know that there was a change in your particular house. I'm getting close here. We've got oral histories, we've got historic photos, we've got maps, filmed videos, again, building permits, old books, and a really good staff of folks who are willing to help you. A couple of really quick questions that you want to think about when you're looking at the history of your home. When was the structure built? Who built it? I should caution you, if you go online to the county assessor's website and try to figure out when your house was built, take that with a big grain of salt. Right? It's not, they're doing the best they can, but their records were incomplete, so they went and knocked on doors and said, sir or ma'am, when was your house built? Well, I think Grandpa said 1904, and I'll have to stop right there, but that's not necessarily true. Thank you.
Wow. If I brought all the paper in my house, it has accumulated over the years, since 1999 actually, you'd have to have packed meals, and we would be wallowing in it, and that's just me. So the North End goes back, it's a long tradition, and it's a long history. And I'm a chair of, Pat Doyle, chair of the Historic Preservation Committee. Used to be the overlay zoning committee, and we got our North End National Register Historic District under a overlay zoning so that we could look at stopping inappropriate additions and having more appropriate restoration for the outside of properties that need a building permit to do that construction. And also, you had just demolished buildings. So once we did that, we morphed into the Historic Preservation Committee. We have people on that committee that have many, many skill sets. And we do many things, but we do them in conjunction with the Old North End Neighborhood Association. We don't do anything. We might promote something, but we have to go to the board to get approval before we get started. Now we have a roadmap, and that organization is over 50 years old, and they have done so many things to build components, foundational pieces. They have the foundation, they have the structure, they have the roof, and we go in and we look at the master plan. Now the master plan was written by Mark Nelson, passed by the City Council in 1991, and that's our roadmap as well. So the organization is our roadmap, the master plan is our roadmap. What is the master? We went back and we looked at the master plan, and we looked at what it was directing us towards, because they had some awfully good ideas in it. And some of the things they said was promote tax incentives and recognition for exceptional historic property restoration renovation projects, and promote overall education. So we've gotten into that. We've had
workshops on window replacement, landscaping, tax credits. We have all of that, have done all of that. We have collaborated with the Historic Preservation Alliance, Preservation Month. We have tours of neighborhoods. We focused on neighborhoods because neighborhoods are important. We're buffers for each other. We're all important. We have gone for a State Historical Fund grant and written our book, so we've gotten into oral history and into written history. I brought, but I'm not going to give it to you, it's the direction, if you want to go for a State Historical Fund grant, I have a template that you can look at and kind of give you ideas and a website that you can go to and get more information that you can use. If you'll leave me your name, email address, etc., I will send that to you electronically. And the last thing that I'm out of time on is this book. The one thing else we promote is livability. So we've got traffic. Everywhere there's traffic, and it's eroding. Divides neighborhoods. So the Stivers who live in the North End neighborhood, they've done a lot of reading. I have a list of books. That's one of the things we found we have to do. We really have to inform ourselves. I can send you that electronically as well. Books that you might want to read about community building and traffic calming and blah, blah, blah. So, but anyway.
How old they have to be in order to be able to get a grant?
Pardon?
How old does the neighborhood have to be in order to be able to get a grant?
I really don't know. But it'll be on that website. And all you have to do is look it up and educate yourself. That is the key. Educating yourself and collaborating with city officials and neighborhoods is positive.
And people like you guys. You guys have so much knowledge. So I want to open it up to questions now. If we don't have a lot of questions, I'll let you guys talk again. But let's just go ahead and open it up. If you have a question for a particular person, maybe note that. Otherwise, I ask all of you try to maybe respond from a different perspective. So go ahead, Bruce.
For Bill Thomas.
Yes.
He says special thanks to
Judge Matt Raley. Yeah. So at 2027 North Cajon is a lovely little house that used to be owned by Harry and Sadie Yost, now owned by the Raleys. Judge Matt Raley did an extensive history research project on his home, and thank goodness he documented every step of the way. So if there is a textbook out there on how to do the history of your home, it's Judge Raley's book. It's called Sadie's House. We have 3 or 4 copies in our collection. It doesn't check out, so you have to use it there. But it's an extraordinary resource, and you will run into things like why your house date that it was built on the county assessor's website is not necessarily correct. And the lady who had been there for 50 or 60 years shared this secret with Judge Raley, and he put the secret in the book, right? So it's an extraordinary book. Come by in special collections, we can show it to you.
Great, thank you. Mia, you had to comment?
I was just curious, maybe one thing that surprised you. That you for the panel, or I guess the panel that has done it, so I guess that would be Molly and Miss Pat.
Yeah, one thing, what?
That surprised you.
What surprised you as you were doing your history?
Oh,
All the criminals.
well, you know, we don't all live pristine lives. And we tend to think that there's a lot of turmoil in our lives right now, but when you go back and you look at how often people moved in those days, and we have some fairly notorious people. And I think one of them was Sadie Yost in the sense that she wasn't who she said she was. And that kind of thing. And by the way, we do have in our neighborhood a plaque program, and on our website there's some guidance. You can go to that and get our guidance under historic preservation. And we work with the library quite extensively, and Bill gives tours for us when we go to, when we have our plaque workshop, which we're going to have in April. So anyway, that's one surprise. Well, you know, we're still doing it, you know, before.
I'll share a surprise, maybe not so much a surprise, but just an interesting sort of observation. In Matt Raley's book, he talks about when they were building the house. So you follow that trail out, and you can, there was something called the Facts magazine that was published here around the turn of the century. And you can see when building permits were pulled, you can see when houses were built, and you can follow that trail, which is really interesting. So what we did is we followed the trail of Sadie's house. Just, and then you can track this into the Gazette as well, it's a front page article. Just before Harry and Sadie Yost moved into their house, it was struck by lightning. Just before they moved in. Caught fire, burned it, and they burned the house next door as well. So 2 things to note. First of all, Harry Yost was basically a poor railroad person, right? He worked on the railroad, didn't have a lot of money, but he was very conservative in just with his own personal life and his own meager funds. He was very conservative, and I think maybe Sadie convinced him that it would be important to buy insurance on this house even before you moved in. The house next door was rented out to a local attorney. He did not have insurance, right? So you got the poor railroad guy who bought insurance, the rich attorney didn't, and when the lightning struck, both houses were burnt down. A week later, the Yosts are happy because their house is being rebuilt with insurance money. The attorney's not so happy. So that was a surprise to me.
I'll just add a surprise, I guess, that I picked up yesterday or 2 days ago. I stopped in at Special Collections just to kind of take a look around and see some of the resources they had. It's pretty astounding, actually. And the city directories by themselves, which I know Bill had mentioned, you can look things up by address, you can look them up by name. When you find what you're looking for, you'll probably get more than you had originally been looking for. You can probably speak to this better than I can, but you'll find perhaps the resident's race, their occupation listed next to their name. There are other symbols that are kind of cryptic that I don't know what they mean. I'm sure he does.
Yeah, there's an index in front of each directory. This is a border, this is where they worked, those sort of things. So you can really piece together the history of your home. And Krik and I were talking that, it's interesting that you can put together when the porch was built on your home, or if there was an outhouse. All that's good stuff. But it really comes to life when you begin to piece together the lives of the people who lived there. What were their trials and their tribulations, their tragedies, their successes? And once you piece that together, then you put yourself in that narrative. So you carry that around with you. So your home, your house is no longer a house, it's a home because you knew the people who lived there. And for me, that's probably one of the most extraordinary gifts that you get out of doing the history of your home. The city directories is the key to begin to piece that together.
Can I answer one of Judith's questions? She asked, how old does a neighborhood have to be to go for a grant? Well, we've recently had our North End National Register Historic District expanded, and some of those are mid-century houses, so it's 50 years or older is considered by the National Trust to be historic, and so I think that's the answer to your question.
And then Molly, do you want to
Yeah,
share?
and I'll comment, it's the stories, and that's what we found in Ivywild, that it makes your neighborhood alive when you are reading and understanding the processes of it getting to where it is today. The Pioneers Museum archives, when I discovered that they had all of the Ivywild Improvement Society notes from 1914 forward, from every meeting, and what they were dealing with, what they were asking for, fire protection, stormwater issues, how some of those things have existed in all that time, and they also had in the archives, and that's the only neighborhood that has that extensive a collection in the archives. A principal from the Ivywild School, Edna Kinder, had given all of her notebooks and her personal diary. So we had a record of everything and all these photographs from the school that suddenly, we weren't just doing history, we were really feeling what was going on in the neighborhood, which was awesome. And then the other thing that I discovered, when we began to learn about the zoo, John Bathhouse Coughlin, who was an alderman in Chicago, the longest serving alderman in their history, who had come out here and built this incredible zoo on Cheyenne Creek, and the records we have of what he contributed to the Ivywild neighborhood. He donated fire hose, just some of the stuff that he did for the neighborhood was just fascinating to us. Yeah.
Another question, Max, and then John.
So people aren't always as forthcoming, when you're trying to interview somebody. What are some of the ways that you guys went about trying to basically, I guess, bring down their shield or defensiveness, and to get them to really tell you the whole story and give things up.
For us in Ivywild, the Gazette did a little article about our research, and we had people contact us and come forward that were so connected to their growing up in Ivywild, no longer lived there, but just had such incredible memories, wanted to tell us about it. We went to one woman's house and her entire dining room table was covered with photographs of her growing up in Ivywild. She was so anxious to share stories and share her photographs with us. So when people really have those memories, we didn't find any hesitance at all. In fact, we had to edit out so much because we just had a lot.
Anyone else comment differently about that?
Sure, I mean, I would just say, from a journalistic perspective, that what helps a lot is, of course, like doing your homework before you come in there to show whoever it is you're talking to that you're serious about the project and you're serious about valuing their time. So, if there's reading you can do ahead of time, a little bit of research, so you come in there and don't ask, the obvious question. I think that goes a long way with people. I would also suggest if you're going to be talking to a number of different people over the course of the project, just start with the talkers, and they'll give you some of that information so that you can take it then to somebody else who might be reticent. And, and as you, I think, were kind of alluding to as well, the more you talk to people, the more they start talking about your conversation with them, and it gets around, and suddenly you're more of a known commodity, and people feel more comfortable with you.
I think one of the important things about capturing this, and this was a sad thing that we had for us in Ivywild, the Dorr family, that Dorchester Park is named after, and they donated the property for the Ivywild School. They had moved to Canyon City, and I contacted them and had set up an appointment to go and visit with them. We had several emails and phone conversations, and I was all ready to go, and they called me up, and their daughter wants to write a history, and so they said, she told us not to talk to you, which was really unfortunate because Ray Dorr has since died. And I hope his daughter captured some of his stories. I just hope that she did.
Go ahead, John.
I have a question for Molly. This kind of information is priceless, but what did it cost you to do the book and to do what you've done? Now, how much do you charge for your book? You were selling them here a few months ago.
We went through Cheetah Printing because we wanted to support local. We didn't want to do Amazon or send it away. We wanted to support local businesses. In terms of man hours, I mean, I'd be really wealthy if I got, if a lot of time, but really enjoyable time. That was not a problem. It cost us $8 to print our book. We sell it for $15.50. And of course, the more you print, and we could have printed it for less, but we wanted the quality paper because the photographs, we just wanted that. I can't say enough about their editor that I worked with at Cheetah Printing. Sean, he was so helpful in layout, and I couldn't have done it on my computer and have it look the way it looks. CONO helped us with some seed money, and Ivywild, our neighborhood association, took the risk to put up the rest, and of course there was some out of pocket on my own part. I didn't mind doing that, but we have made back our money, definitely, enough to pay for our bowling team.
Would you say the cost is in the thousands of dollars?
I would say our upfront money to get started was about $3,000.
That's just upstart. That's just the beginning.
Well, that got us our first run of books, and we've had 2 printings. And so we did 250 at a time. We're now down. Then we had a second printing of 500. Or excuse me, no, we did 500. We've sold probably close to 1,000 books. And it's going around and say the school has it. There are a couple of bookstores that have it, and then we try to sell it because they have their markup. So they don't pay us as much as when someone just buys it from us. And believe me, I knew there would be a run on them and then it would slow down. It's definitely slowed down. But our hope is that as we move into the development on South Nevada, we're gonna have a lot of new residents in Ivywild.
Yep.
That there will be an interest on their part of learning about their neighborhood that they're moving into. So we hope for another surge of sales.
And could I ask Pat to compare the Old North End's experience?
Yeah, well, we went for a state historic fund grant, and so it was 25% cash match is what we had to pay for this. And we're on the second printing of the book. You have to determine too where you can market this book, and I think that you know, you have museum stores, you have like McAllister House, House Museums, you have Clausen's Bookstore. Terra Verde has sold, I can't tell you how many books they sold. I don't know where they're selling these books, but countless books from their Pioneers Museum has sold books. So I have to determine where they're gonna sell. But like I said, 25% cash match, and now it's been expanded. Where this book covers it, the area has been expanded, so we may have to look at something else for a grant next. But I was going to say about interviewing, one of the things you really have to know your topic, I mean your person. And you have to realize that older people forget. And also, if you face people with a microphone, it's a little different than if you were just talking to them off the cuff. So, I don't know, I think I like to limit the interview to what they think they really want to say and what they know, and not wear them out. But if you know the topic, you know how to extend, you know the person, you know something about how they live, you know how to extend them, okay? So you can ask, as I asked Jean Keeley, I said, what about the green bench? And she gave me the background on the green bench. Now, most people won't even know about the green bench, but I happen to know about that. Yeah, well, no, that she said, no, that's not exactly correct. It's what it evolved into. And then she could explain what it evolved into. So that's the story behind the story. So know your topic really well, how to extend them, and realize older people do forget. Faced with a microphone, it can be more difficult. And then look about state historic fund grants, and I've got a whole guide for that. If you want it, I can send it to you.
Thank you. Chris, you got a question?
I just had an idea, I don't know if you guys have already done this as far as marketing your book or something like that, but if you see a house for sale in your neighborhood, contact the real estate agent and say, here's a great gift to give that.
Now, we've done that, as well. Yeah, we have.
Yes.
Question for Bill. The Sanborn fire insurance books you mentioned, how late do those go?
I think I may have it in your handout. If you could flip, there's one sheet that talks about the Sanborn fire insurance maps all together.
They're listed under the PPLD special collections page.
So keep going, there's one
Keep going,
Sanborn
okay.
fire insurance all together.
Oh, got it, okay, perfect.
And these are really, they're just fun to look at.
Oh, wow, so they're pretty current.
Yeah, but if you look down at the bottom, you see there's some of these that are scanned and they're online. They're really easy to access, and you can download high-resolution copies.
Okay.
For free.
Thank you.
Question, can I ask, just interject something? I went to the Colorado Preservation Inc. conference in February, and there was a Pueblo neighborhood, and what they did when they wanted to get people from the neighborhood who no longer lived there, or somewhere else in the city maybe, they put it out on social media. And those people responded like mad to come in and be interviewed. And they got a grant for those interviews, but there are several entities that took part in that grant. For example, the library, I think it's Colorado State University, Pueblo Museum, all of these entities thought this was important enough to pursue this Salt Creek, I think it's called Salt Creek, a neighborhood which is near the steel mill. It has quite a history to it. And so, but they put it out on social media, and they were so excited to share what happened.
I believe the Salt Creek project, those folks who worked on that are going to be presenting at a history symposium in June. Worth taking a look at.
So we've been trying to end our meetings around 6:30. I know we're a little bit over, but we're having really great dialogue. So I'm gonna propose about 2 more questions. And then if you guys wanna hang out to mingle and ask more questions, and we're happy to send their contact information out too as resources for you guys. So does that sound like a plan, about 2 more questions, then we'll wrap up? Just trying to get everybody home for dinner, so, okay.
I want to mention one more thing. We did do a Kickstarter and posted that on Facebook and just in our neighborhood email blast that we do. And we raised about half the money with that. Wasn't like a huge, but it helped. And they got, we had levels of donation. So if you donated a certain amount of money, you got a brochure and a book. And Mike Bristol gave us beer coupons and T-shirts as part of that Kickstarter. So accessing your neighborhood resources like that is helpful too.
Questions?
Well, I was also going to say that an historian wrote the text, and an architectural historian that lived in the neighborhood did the photographing and the architectural component of it. And then we had several people in the community who have written books, so they were into editing and also into indexing and so forth. So it was a real big collaboration and on this book. And I didn't bring one, I just didn't think of it, I'm sorry. But you know, if you ever want to see one, you can see them at the Pioneers Museum in the library, And like I said, we really work with him on these house histories that people do on their own homes.
We'll be at the Pioneers Museum in Denver next month, so there. All right, any other questions, comments, ideas? Go ahead.
Bill, with regard to the information that you mentioned, you can research at the library. Is any of that information contained in the program that Pioneers Museum has?
Are you talking about the story of us?
Yes.
I'm sure it is. I'm sure it is. We work pretty closely with the folks who put that together, and just in terms of images themselves, there's a significant amount of, a large part of that collection of photographs, we cooperated with them. So we shared freely with, with them the images that we have. And just following that up a little bit, we've got about 10,000 or so images online right now. That's not to say that your house in 1905 is going to be there. You just may, probably not, to be honest with you. But it's definitely a resource that you should not overlook. And you can go online and find it. And I should also add, if anybody who's ever worked in an archives, you will know that what you see online is not everything, right? By any means, not everything. So if you don't see it online, don't assume that we don't have it. Give me a call, contact me, and we can dig deeper and deeper to see if we actually have a print of it that just hasn't been scanned and put online yet.
I have to point out, the cover of the book on the north end is that photograph that's up on the wall.
This one? Cool.
And in fact, I think Chuck Martin's house is in that, is it not?
I think it's the house behind.
Yeah, it's a house beyond the little but it's on, I think, the right.
And speaking of the Pioneers Museum, we got that photo from Pioneers Museum.
So, and also your own personal stories are important. But, I've got this from the Pioneers Museum, but wrap them, keep them up with you, don't put them in a basement. And if you have artifacts, they're really important. Label your artifacts, but give the story. Why did you collect it in the first place? And I've got a bunch of that stuff at home that have great stories to go with it, but nobody knows what they are unless you write the story. So stories are important.
Great point. And as a resource, in addition to you all, CONO does have a scanner that doesn't cost us anything to use. If you have lots of paperwork that you need to scan to help it be easier to look through documents, if it's pictures that you need a digital copy of, call us, come in. You do it yourself, I'm not gonna do it for you, but you can scan it, you can use that here if you need like a PDF version of any document, so.
If I could just throw out one more thing, as you move through the history of your neighborhood and you've gotten it done or you're getting close, please consider the material that you've put together is a very valuable resource, not to be lost. There's an archives over at the library, they really like those kind of things. Just throwing that out there.
Yeah, the North End has put a lot of stuff there.
Yes.
And HPA as well, because it's in boxes. What are we gonna do, put it under our beds?
So much of that really good stuff is lost.
Any final comments from you guys that you feel like you wanted to say and you didn't get a chance to say? I would say it now.
Thanks. Thank you for the opportunity. I always love meeting folks who are
I know
doing
exactly
histories
where
of
that
their
is.
home, their regions.
My wife
and
walks by there.
I love talking about the library resources, so thank you.
And there are great resources, great people to work with.
Krik or Molly, any final words?
Do
Yeah,
it,
just-
just do it.
Yeah, and thank you for doing it, because it really, every day, another something gets lost. Whether it's because someone passes away or someone throws something away without really realizing what it was. Just jump in and someone will thank you for it.
Great, well, thank you, let's give them a round of applause. Thank you so much for being here, and I think that's all we've got for tonight. Remember, Neighbor Up Week, Civics on Tap. We've got a lot of stuff going on. If you feel like we've missed something and there's a hot topic you really want to talk about, let us know that. We're here to serve you guys in the neighborhood and support you. So have a great night. Enjoy the sunshine.
Oh, yeah. No, he's my neighbor.
Take care.
I have no idea. Yeah, I don't think we have that much
Happy to see you.
Take care.
Easy to log in and